We knew that the game against Northwest Missouri was going to be the toughest one you're going to have to play.
Welcome back. We are live at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's the 2022 NCAA Central Region Championship. When it comes to the Bearcats and the Vikings, they've won 4 of the last 5 national championships combined. Yet tonight, it is win or go home.
It's what you dream of. It's what March Madness here in America is. Battling every single play and it coming down to one shot. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Tayton Vincent finishes his high school career as Sioux Valley's all-time leader in scoring, assists, and steals.
Vincent was a finalist for the 2017 South Dakota Mr. Basketball Award.
I started playing organized basketball as a kindergartner. I was playing with the 3rd graders, and then I just continued to play up. You're challenging yourself with these guys that are bigger, faster, stronger than you are. Your name starts to get out there a little bit. A college like Augustana usually isn't an option. It's a pretty expensive school to attend. I just turned 15. I come in and I sit down and the coaches offer me, and it's one of those first things when you're like, man, maybe I can really go play basketball. Maybe this really is for me. You go into your sophomore season of high school. I turned to go make a move, just attacking the basket, nobody around me, and blew my knee out. It's like just a gut punch. All of a sudden, things have changed. The moment you step onto campus, you feel like you do everything that you can, grinding and trying to get to where you want to be. It was incredibly hard taking the lumps that I did and not getting the playing time that I maybe wanted, and not enjoying it at times, and really wanting to transfer, wanting to do this, and really frustrated and really questioning a lot. That last year I played hardly any, and it was my most enjoyable year. For me, I just loved the game through and through. And the relationships that come, you can't form some of those relationships without it. Something that gave me so many opportunities in my life, now I get to share that with younger generations.
Tayton Vincent is in his first season as head coach of the Custer girls basketball team.
I can't ask for anything else. I'm extremely happy to do what I'm doing.
This is a podcast where we share the incredible transformations of international students who studied abroad at college in the US. Today is actually quite a special episode because we have a domestic student who was also one of my basketball teammates. We hear the journey of what it was like growing up in the small town of South Dakota with just 1,700 people. Being exposed to basketball from a really young age, we're talking 1 week old. What it's like being coached by your father for your entire high school, middle school, previous to that school career, landing a scholarship to one of the greatest NCAA Division II schools in the country, breaking a whole bunch of records in high school, what it looks like to stop forcing a career path, actually listening to yourself, and having the courage to embrace change, and everything else in between. Now, I don't have favorite episodes on Back to College, but honestly, this might have to be one of them. The relationship I have with this person went and goes far beyond the court and the locker room. I spent Christmas with this person back in 2017, and in that short week, I felt like I had a second family. I was able to reconnect with them at this person's wedding in September 2024, 9 months after we recorded this conversation. I have so much love and respect for this person, and I'm really, truly excited to share their basketball, but also their personal journey at college and beyond. Their transformation is truly exceptional. It's time to go back to college with Tayt. Tayton Vincent, welcome back to college.
It's a little bittersweet, you know? Lots of really, really positive memories, and it's been a while. A lot has changed on campus even, just pulling in. It's like with the hockey arena going up.
Oh yeah, that's looking real good.
Oh my goodness. I'm like pulling in and I'm like, what in the world is going on? And then I remembered, oh yeah, they had just started putting that up, as I'm leaving college. They had just, framework in the ground and a bunch of equipment everywhere. And now it's like, oh, it's really coming together, pulling everything on campus. Got it looking really, really pretty.
And you've noticed a lot of change just being out for a year and a half as well.
Yeah, it really is. And that's not just on the athletic sides, but across campus in general. A lot has changed.
Yeah, 100%. And so what is it like for you being back in this space where we spent so much time together playing basketball here?
For me, being in a gym anywhere always brings me joy. So being back here where you put a lot of, blood and sweat onto the floor, maybe more blood than I would have liked to over the course of some of those practices, just with some elbows and things like that.
It got pretty rough there, but yeah. I mean, I feel exactly the same way. Being back here, it's this place in particular, this practice gym where we would come here 4 or 5 times a week to have our team practices and just sort of out for war, but at the same time we're all working for a collective goal and just everyone's pushing each other just to get better and better.
Yeah, and it's tough to beat when you have that and you have the relationship that you can go at somebody, you can attack them, you can throw elbows and get under their skin, and then when you walk out the door to this gym and you're done with practice, you're just brothers. You're ready to go do whatever you want to do and hang out afterwards or go study, go get some food, and you're just connecting. And then the next day you step back in here for practice and it's battle time again.
100%,
but
yeah.
It all pays off in the grand scheme of things. And I feel like my senior year when we made it to the, Sweet 16 there, just everything combined and compounded and made that trip so much fun. We ended up losing to Northwest Missouri State, who went on to win the whole thing, and it was an absolute battle.
That's what happened to me my freshman year.
Yeah.
Same team, and they also went on to win the national championship.
Right, and I think that's a testament to the region that we play in. The NCAA Division II has it unique in the fact that they don't necessarily separate everybody out. They say, hey, here's a couple conferences. We're going to take 8 teams from these 2 or 3 conferences. You're going to play it out. We're going to take 1 team out of those 8. Even though you might have 4 of the top 5 teams in your region, you've got to survive and advance out of that. And, I think, every year that I was there and 2 or 3 years prior, the team that came out of our region had gone on to be runner-up or national champ. And Northwest Missouri State was that a couple times. Northern State was runner-up a couple times. And, of course,
they were really good too.
Augie had won, and that was kind of one of my factors in deciding to come to Augustana, was obviously the basketball program, but they had won a national championship that year that I was trying to make my decision and decide where I really wanted to go play basketball.
Yeah.
So, the national championship and the winning was part of it. But on top of that, I'd gone through a knee injury in high school as a sophomore. And the coaches, Coach Billiter and Coach Othier, had been following me, and they had offered me prior to my sophomore year to come here. And when it happened, Coach Othier...
Before your sophomore year?
Of high school, yeah.
So you're still very young then. That's 13 or so?
Let's see. I would have
13,
been
14.
Yeah, 14 or 15 there.
Right.
I think I just turned 15.
Dang.
So, you're not really thinking about, college, this. It's just, your focus is hanging out with friends, playing basketball, just doing what you love to do. And I come in and I sit down and the coaches offer me, and it's one of those first things when you're like, man, maybe I can really go play basketball. Maybe this really is for me. And just a unique opportunity to begin with as a gonna be sophomore. And
still a little kid.
Yeah. And it's what you dream of. I got to play for my dad growing up. It's one of those things that we always talked about. Both of my parents are teachers. So a college like Augustana usually isn't an option for a teacher's kid. It's a pretty expensive school to attend. But basketball was kind of that avenue that I was going to have. So my parents and I had talked about it a lot. hey, if you really enjoy this, you're pretty darn good at it. You can go just about anywhere you want to go with basketball.
Yeah.
The more effort and time that you put in, because you've got the skill set, you've got the ability to do so, you can do this. And my parents just kept encouraging me. And then when we sat down with Coach Billiter and Coach Othier, and they talked to us about that and offered it, and Coach Hederman as well, and they offered me, it's one of those things where you're like, man, my hard work is paying off. And you go into your sophomore season of high school, you still have sophomore, junior, and senior season left. You're looking forward to it all. You're excited about the group of friends that you have and the teammates that you have. And I played 2 games, and in the third game, we're about 40, maybe not even 40 seconds in. Like, I think we had 1 offensive possession, and I caught the ball, and I raced down, and Coach Othier was even there in the stands watching. And I turned to go make a move, just attacking the basket in transition. Nobody around me, no one touching me, just changing my angle, and blew my knee out.
Bang.
Just like that, and all of a sudden you're sitting there and things have flipped. Things have changed. You
start to question, well, oh crap, this is my pathway. Everything was going so smoothly. We've got it all mapped out here.
Right.
All of a sudden you've got a huge injury to overcome.
Yeah. And come out of the locker room after the game, teammates, battled and found a way to win that one. And my dad, he's got to be the coach there to begin with, right? It's coach first once that ball tips off, almost parent second, which I wouldn't change any of those days. Sometimes he yelled a little bit, I totally deserved most of those. So he's doing that. After the game, he gets to, take a step back now and go back to being dad. And it's devastating when that's the time and the effort that you put in together to do that and to accomplish your goals. But come out of the locker room and Coach Othier is there, and he's been on the phone with Coach B. And I even think maybe Coach B talked to me over the phone, and he says, hey, like, keep your head up. Injuries are a part of basketball. You can come back stronger than you were before. Like, just keep working. You've got this. We are going to stick with you 100%. And
that's very nice of them to say.
Yeah. And that stays true. I got to experience 5 years here at Augustana because of the opportunity that they provided me with, which it's just so meaningful to somebody. And, in the moment, you don't realize how big some of those words really are, and the encouragement to just overcome that and battle back. And I wouldn't have been here, and we wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, I think that's very crazy to point out, like, just the sheer amount of obstacles that was athletes that we have to overcome, especially having to deal with injuries. I think I've been lucky. I've broken nose twice is the biggest injury that I've had. So, sit out for a couple of weeks, but straight back into it.
Yeah.
But you've had multiple ACL tears.
Yes.
You had to deal with. I remember, I think when I met you, you pointed out the scars almost straight away that, I've done both of my knees before.
Yeah. I did the one twice. It was the same one is what it ended up being.
Right.
But yeah, to overcome it the first time, it's like, hey, this isn't too bad. And then you come back, you're strong, and then you do it a second time. And it's like just a gut punch,
That would really shake the confidence as well.
Yeah. And going through it, and you know what it takes to overcome it. But at the same time, you just worked your butt off to get back to where you were and to get back, to where you want to be going. And all of a sudden, here you are back at starting point. It's time to grind and go through all this work again just to try and be the version of yourself that you can be. It takes a lot of time and effort, but it's extremely rewarding, and it teaches you a lot about yourself. There's definitely days that you're down in the dumps, though, and get pretty sad, and not want to play and not really enjoy it because of how hard it can be.
And being in an environment like this where it is very intense because the coaches are getting paid, the students are on scholarships, so everyone has all these high expectations, and excellence is expected.
It is.
So that intensity, is great, and it fosters a really successful environment for us to like really improve ourselves. But at the same time, there is so much pressure that comes along with that too.
There is, and it can be a lot. But, you know, the coaches are extremely supportive. They invested their time into you, and they make that commitment right as we make the commitment to them to work our tail off. You know, to battle for them each and every day and come into practice knowing that injuries are a possibility in the game of basketball and in, you know, life. You never know. You could slip on the ice walking outside and, you know,
definitely could, yeah.
get a concussion. And, you know, I even just reminiscing walking up the back steps to the practice gym. I'm like, gosh, the number of times I was squeezing both handrails walking up here to get shots up late night because it's icy, slippery.
Make sure you don't fall all the way down the bottom.
Yeah, and they're metal, so they're a little slick back there. You know, so you come into that though knowing that you're making that commitment and that it's a possibility. And each and every day you just go out there and you work as hard as you can, and you leave the rest up to God. And if He so chooses to, you know, give you an injury, you embrace that challenge and the obstacle, and it's just part of your journey.
Yeah.
And it really makes you, you know, it's really made me who I am today in being able to know I can overcome those things and handle the adversity that's thrown my way.
Yeah. And I mean, just from what you've shared already, it's been such a great journey listening to what you've been through. I want to take us back to Volga, South Dakota, which is where you grew up. And I actually it was of my sophomore year, so your freshman year, I spent Christmas over at your place. And I think for me personally, that was such a wild experience because it's what, a 2 or 3 hour drive from Sioux Falls?
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I was exaggerating a little bit, but it's tiny town in the middle of nowhere. And I think that's very much, you know, the small town living. Because what's the population of Volga?
Yeah, the population I think now is just over 2,000.
Yeah.
People. As I was growing up, is about 1,700.
Yeah.
So it's grown quite a bit. Being fairly close to Brookings, where South Dakota State University, a Division I school, is at. So you got a big town there, but you go to this small town feel, and like you said, you got to experience it. We went to a practice, I believe, even, and played with some of my dad's guys.
Yeah, well, and coming into a town like that, just like it was a huge shock for me because Sioux Falls was already pretty small for what I was used to. And then coming to a place where there's just a few houses and just about a school, that's it. But I really enjoyed that experience because your dad was the coach at what was the high school called?
Sioux Valley.
Sioux Valley,
Yep.
that's right. The Sioux Valley Cossacks.
Yep, the Cossacks there. It's a Russian warrior. And, you know, a lot of people, I think one year it was voted one of the most unique ones in the state of South Dakota. I believe like Mitchell Colonels, where the world's only corn palace is, was one of the other ones along with the Cossack.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to have that experience and to have that small town feel. But like you said, you got to experience it. I don't remember if I got to take you to, I want to say we maybe even made it to a game as well.
Yeah,
and the atmosphere.
We definitely went to a practice.
Yeah.
And even that was a big shock to me because, I mean, these are high school kids, but I mean, they were pushing me around. It wasn't like they're just, they're still the little kids, have got some time to develop.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys are big, physical, and the program that your dad has run, he's been there for how many years?
Oh, goodness. Now you're testing my memory. Let's see.
20, 30, 40?
Not quite 30. I think he's 27 or 28 now at Sioux Valley. I believe he's been coaching now for 30 plus. But at Sioux Valley specifically on the boys' side, I believe it's about 27 or 28 years. And at the time that you got to go back, that was right after my senior year. We'd gone to a couple state tournaments in a row. And since then, they were the number one team in the state during the COVID year. They were back-to-back runner-ups the 2 years following that. Last year, they were state consolation champs. They got 5th place. They lost in the first round and then won their next two. But over the last 10 to 15 years, they've been at the state tournament almost every year.
Which I find unbelievable for such a small little town.
Right.
But I think there's something in that middle of South Dakota, freezing cold winters, but you have this nice warm gym that you can come to and you guys can just hang out there and just play all the basketball you can want.
Yeah, and you even got to experience a little bit of life on the farm for a day or two there over Christmas break as well. And that's what you do is you go out, you get some of your chores done, you do those little things that need to get done, and then you tell mom and dad, hey, I'm going to the gym. Hey, it's time to go shoot hoops. It's time to go have an open gym. Even when you're not having a practice, most guys are in the gym every day because, like you said, it's cold. What else are we going to be doing? It's sunny and 70 every day in the gym.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think even for me, we don't have crazy winters back home, but it was enough. I was playing Australian rules football for a few years, but even just the long Sunday afternoons where it'd be cold and rainy, I thought, screw this. I'd prefer to just be inside and controlled environment, so it's just more consistent. But Tayt, did you want to describe to me what it was like sort of growing up there and also having your dad as your coach?
Yeah, well, so like in terms of my basketball life, it started when I was about a week old. Went to my first team camp because my dad's coached my entire life.
So you're a week old.
So I'm a week old, and I want to say it was at Southwest Minnesota State. So a school that eventually, in a gym that we eventually I got to play in, and you experienced that facility as well. So it goes such full circle. In college, you go all the way back to where my basketball, the first game I ever attended was is Southwest Minnesota State University.
That's really awesome.
So it's pretty cool to see that. But then just growing up around the game of basketball, I felt like all of the boys and girls, because at the time my dad coached both. My mom was a volleyball coach. My mom was an assistant basketball coach on the girls' side. So all of those older kids that I was really looking up to, they were like brothers and sisters to me. They didn't have to treat me perfectly. They could pick on me. They were doing those things. They helped raise me around basketball as well. And my parents did an awesome job of involving me in so much and having me be a part of it and getting to experience that. But then you have this small town community where it doesn't matter what you're doing. Football, basketball, track, cross country, any of those sports, singing, in the fine arts department. It doesn't matter what you do in that town. There's so many people that are supporting you. When you walk into the grocery store or the local convenience store, like when I come back home now, even there's still people there that stop and talk and ask how things are going.
I want to point that out because when we went back, you'd only been at college for maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
And I remember we were walking through the school and you were just pointing at people like, hey, what's up, Mrs. K? And hey, what's up, Brett? How you going? And it just seemed like you were just the celebrity of the town. It was so awesome to see. And,
and it's unique hearing your perspective on what that kind of was for you, because that to us is just every day. You walk in and, I could go down to the kindergarten classroom and all those kids are going to know me and I'll know most of their names. And that's just the relationship that you get to have at a school that's that small, in a town that's that small. Most of their older brothers and sisters of all the little ones. So, even now, when I tune in and my youngest sister Talia is playing, who's a sophomore in high school.
She is sophomore, oh my gosh.
I know.
I remember when she was tiny.
She's still a little, but it's so fast. It really flies. And I'm seeing all of those kids that at the time I'd coach a little bit when I could and help my mom. So you're seeing all of them and you have that relationship in the community and in the town that is so welcoming. And it's just really, really hard to beat. And that's part of why now, post-college, I'm at another small town and I'm feeling some of the same things. I feel a lot more comfortable and at home and very welcomed in the Custer community that I'm at now. But it really is that really small town feel that not everybody gets to experience. And sometimes when you move to a bigger city, and like for me, Sioux Falls is a little bit too big for me. Like you said, Sioux Falls was already awfully small for you.
Yeah. I love just talking about the difference in perspectives because I think I am very much a big city person in that I just love being around people who are doing awesome things and just the energy as well, just being around lots of people, I think really just sort of gets me going. But I also do, and especially after I spent the Christmas with you and your family, it was very evident to see how awesome and how special a tight-knit community can be in a small town.
Yeah, it's it's like you have an extension, like it's like you're related to everybody in town, but you're not related. But they care for you. If you have something that goes on, and the neighbor next door finds out that, hey, you're not able to shovel the snow this time because you fell down and rolled an ankle, they're going to come over there and they're going to shovel all the snow off for you. They're going to make sure that you can get out. You have someone that gets sick and everyone in town is bringing over a dish. Sometimes you almost have to schedule it because there's going to be too much food for them if something happens.
Speaking of food, your grandmother's prime rib.
Oh, yeah.
For Christmas.
I'm looking forward to it here in a couple of days.
Already.
So, yeah, that, food-wise, gosh, if I had to pick my last meal, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
It would definitely be Grandma
Can
Jean's.
confirm it was absolutely delicious.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome to come back if you want.
Yeah. And actually another, sort of speaking along the family lines, I remember for Christmas, I feel like this was such a novel thing, at least for me, but for Christmas Day, we went to the church, and how we got there, we got the baller hauler, as it's called, the big bus.
Yep.
For the basketball team, but all your family and extended family just jumped on this bus, and we just went to the church together. I thought it was just such a crazy, bizarre experience, but it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, family-wise, we're just extremely close. And, around the holiday season, even when people are living 500 miles away, making intentional time to go do that. And like you said, with my Uncle Buster being a car dealer, he had the baller hauler, as we called it, because there's a lot of basketball games attended in our family over the years. And still is, with both my cousins playing in college basketball as well, and sisters still playing. So you hop in there, you pile as many people as you can. We might have been over the limit by a couple people, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure we get to church, and we're going to spend time with family and just enjoy it. And it's those experiences and those times, even in the car, that you cherish and hold on to.
100%. And we'll just to touch on the dynamic with your dad being the coach, because I think, for the little time I spent with your dad in, back at your place, and also in the Sioux Valley basketball environment, he's very professional. He's very switched on, and he was always watching game tape and stuff. And this is over Christmas time too.
Oh yeah.
So he's not taking a break. He's very invested into it. But how did that dynamic work with him as your coach?
Well, I hit a little bit on it earlier, where when it came time, like when we walk into this gym here, it's coach mode, right? It's coach and player. That's the relationship that we had.
Which I think is
and you
easier
separate,
said than done, though.
It is at times. You separate it a lot more than most people know. However, when you're at home, like you said, and watching game film, it's hard to separate that because you saw it. My dad's passion for coaching basketball it's unbelievable. Like, it's a lot of the reason why I enjoyed basketball so much was because I got to spend time with my dad doing it. So he's there, he's watching film, he's doing those things. A lot of times, you get done with a basketball game, you go hug your friends, hug your family, and they're telling you how great you did and all these things. And a lot of times between my dad and I, it was, hey, way to get the win tonight. See you at home. And like the rest of my family's there, hey, awesome job, you did this, do you remember this play? And, we're reminiscing on it. And then the next morning, so a lot of times after we got home, on a road game, it'd be about midnight. We'd get home, we'd put the game film in, you'd hit play. It used to be, when I was little, before I played, you'd find the VHS tape or the DVD, and you'd plug that in and pop it in, and you'd start watching it. And some of those game tapes got worn out. But now it's you just hit huddle and you hit play on the computer, and we watched the whole game. And we'd probably stay up till 1:30. I don't know if I was very productive in my first hour of classes in high school, but, all those times and those moments that we got to do that, the whole time, he's watching me play, just as a dad. That first time he watched it back, he just watched me. And a lot of times the next morning, he'd get up, have something for breakfast, something big, something small. He'd come in, hey, and he'd talk about the game for a little bit as dad.
That's a good way of doing it. So he can be full coach mode game
Yes,
day, very
absolutely.
switched on, and then he can watch it afterwards.
Yeah. And he'd come in some mornings or the next day at school if he had to go to a meeting or something and we didn't quite cross paths and bump into each other. And he'd sit down and he'd pull up the stats and he'd go, dang, you really had 10 assists last night? Like, yeah, because I always prided myself in not having to be the guy that scored all the time. I wanted to be that great teammate that made it easier for everybody else. Because the game of basketball needs all 5 people working together and, all the pistons firing to get to where you want to go. And it takes everybody, no matter what position you're in. And I knew that. And, so it just always, knowing that he was watching it and he was able to experience it also as a dad, it meant a lot to me. Now, like you said, it can be hard at times. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that he kicked out in the 6 years that I was playing basketball for him, of a practice. And man, I've never taken my shoes off and tried to get out of there so fast in my life. I was ready to go home. And he came down and, chewed me out and talked to me as a dad and let me know, what you did is not acceptable. Doesn't matter what coach you have, who it is. That's in the real world, you cannot do that.
Are you able to share what that was? I'm just curious.
Gosh, what I think I talked back to him.
Yeah, you can't be doing that, Tayt.
Yeah, and I think I swore at him and was yelling at my team. I was not happy with something.
Just in a bit of a mood.
Yeah, and I think one of my teammates was just playing hard and he tackled me and I got up and I was about ready to just punch him. And my dad just, boom, that's it. Go home, and kicked me out. And I remember kind of walking through because it happened at the far end of the gym. So you have the walk of shame all the way, all 94
just
feet.
Just the silence of the step.
Yep.
Step.
And no basketballs are bouncing because everyone in the gym is staring at you, every kid. And, you got kids that are younger than you that are looking up to you. And, when you're that role model, and you see it in the NBA nowadays where guys make a mistake and everyone jumps on you for it. And, I'm fortunate that my mistake wasn't on film everywhere with everybody watching. And after that happened, there was never a day that I walked into that gym for my dad or even here at Augustana and was ever going to do anything close to that. You just nod, yes, sir. I understand, coach. If coach asks the questions, I don't know what I was thinking. You just very respectful, all of those things, but such a valuable lesson on that one. And that was the only time my dad really had to kick me out. But he came down and convinced me to come back to practice. And it was probably to this day one of the best practices we've ever had, even though it was already probably about half over. Everyone in the gym understood, hey, we're not where we need to be, and my dad expects that excellence out of each and every one of us. And he understands that we have faults and flaws, but at the same time, it's such a big picture of the goal as a team wanting to win. And aside from team, he wants you to be successful in life. And that's everybody all the way across the board. And once you leave that, and I had my dad coach then for ever, since I was born. And then I come to Augustana and it's, a new time, learning under Coach Billiter, Coach Othier, and Coach Hederman to start. And it's a little different because, you don't.
I feel like it would be totally different because you don't have that deeper relationship like you had with your dad.
Right. And you don't know the ins and outs of all the offense. And it's a new offense that you haven't really run. And the defensive scheme and the things like that are slightly different. And the terminology is all very different.
Before we get to Augustana, I wanted to touch back on that whole recruiting process because I feel I find it quite fascinating that coaches here are very active in looking for talent. So how did Augustana actually find you specifically?
Well, so let's see. When did it start? So like I probably started playing organized basketball as about a kindergartner. Like with a team. I was playing with the third graders, and then I just continued to play up, and my parents somehow got me down here to Sioux Falls with a team called like the Sioux Falls Rebels, I think was the team of our team name. And that was probably in 4th or 5th grade. And we came to tournaments in Sioux Falls every weekend. Like the Lace 'em Up tournament, I believe, is still going on at Sioux Falls Lincoln down here. The Willie Mack tournaments, the Aberdeen Y, which is up in Aberdeen, South Dakota. You're just traveling all over weekend to weekend and playing basketball. And then actually that year we played Matt Cartwright, who, becomes a teammate again. Then
he was in your recruiting class.
Yes. So we are recruiting class. We were roommates in college there the first 2 years as well. Or here at Augustana, we were roommates. So you go and you're playing, and we played against each other. And Matt's team was the Sioux Falls Celtics, and they were really, really good. And, you come in from small town, hey, I just love to play basketball. So I'm playing on the Rebels. They're the Sioux Falls Celtics, and they've never really had someone compete and challenge them, and we're battling with them. And, my dad had brought me up in that way that it doesn't matter who you're playing against at all. You just go out there and you leave it on the line. You play as hard as you can, and good things are going to come your way and happen. And, they played and we played and battled, and I think they beat us and, down the stretch. And it might have been I think it was by like 15 points, but we'd battled pretty close and then lost it down at the end. And they came up afterwards and kind of asked if I'd want to go travel, because they were kind of the Sioux Falls team that would go to Omaha and Minneapolis.
So they were taking it a bit more seriously then.
Yeah. So
really going to the biggest cities.
So they were starting to branch out, because in Sioux Falls, they were beating a lot of their own age group. So, my parents and I talked about it, and, it's a big time and money commitment that my parents had to make, and a sacrifice for me. And both my sisters, had to tag along on all of those trips as well. So my entire family sacrificed a lot there. And I had a classmate, or I guess he was 1 year older than me, but Colin Kramer is his name. He played at Dakota Wesleyan in college. He was 1 year older than me, just a teammate growing up, one of my best friends. Through the years, was water boy with me for my dad's teams. His family was also eventually a part of that. So it began, in 4th or 5th grade, where he and I are jumping in, riding with it. If it was his mom and dad taking us, or my mom and dad taking us, it didn't matter. We just hopped in. We went and played wherever we could. We played in Sioux Falls. We played a lot in Omaha. We played Minneapolis a ton, and we went down to Iowa multiple times. So kind of in this area for the most part.
That's tons of driving. Like each of those are at least a 3-hour trip.
Oh yeah, I think most of them were about 4 or 5 from our place, just with it being a little further than Sioux Falls. The Sioux Falls people were a little more fortunate, where it was an hour and a half shorter. But it was all of those things that kind of built up and got the process going. And over the course of time, I've played here at Augustana multiple times just growing up. And when you're in a small state with about 900,000 people, when you are pretty good at basketball, your name starts to get out there. And it doesn't really matter what age you are. And being in a small school, I'm pretty fortunate that I got to play as a middle schooler. The state of South Dakota allows 7th and 8th graders to play up. Can't as a 6th grader.
That's a state rule, is it?
So like statewide, if your school agrees and you're talented enough, or you need the numbers, you may pull up a 7th and 8th grader. And I don't know if it ever really happened at our school, but I was a 7th grader and Colin Kramer was an 8th grader, and my dad, pushed for it for both of us, because he believed that we could. And we had played a lot with the sophomores, the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. We'd played with them, a lot of them growing up, just in everything. So we'd
Because they're
been,
the guys playing basketball, so they're just
Yeah.
naturally the ones that you gravitate towards.
yeah. And when you're competing, you know, you want to challenge yourself. So you're challenging yourself with these guys that are bigger, faster, stronger than you are to try and get better, to try and get to where you want to go. So, you know, in 7th grade, then that kind of stopped, but you start to be a part of it and your name starts to get out there a little bit because, oh, there's a 7th grader on this team. Like, they must be,
that's pretty
they must be
unique.
pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of knowing that if you're a 7th or 8th grader and you're on a varsity team, you're probably going to have a chance to play college basketball somewhere. So that's probably when my name started to get out here. I don't know a specific day.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Coach Billiter as I got older, though, here at Augustana, and him saying, you know, like, I watched you a lot growing up. I watched you a lot more than you even know.
Oh, really?
You know, and I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Like, at some of those tournaments that, like, when I was real little, he's like, oh, yeah. Like, I think I was 12 years old playing, I think I was in 6th grade going into 7th grade, and I was playing with, like, the 15 and under team in an AAU tournament, just getting my butt kicked. Like, I remember making a pass, like, thinking, oh, yeah, like, I can make this ball reversal, right? Just passing it from the top of the key to the wing. And Skylar Flatten picks it off and dunks it. And I'm like, great. Like, totally knew I screwed up there.
I think that's like stepping up and playing in those bigger roles, both once you move to the team in Sioux Falls and also playing up as a young middle schooler as well. I think those opportunities would really allow you to excel.
It does. It definitely helps. It does put you in sometimes a harder position with your friend group or with your age. You know, there was days where you really feel like you're not invited to some of those things. My dad's the coach, so are we going to get in trouble if we do something because your dad's the coach? So some of your classmates don't invite you to those things.
So you might get left behind a few times.
Yeah, but at the same time, the passion and drive that I had for the sport, it comes full circle when at the end of your journey in high school, your classmates and things are starting to realize and appreciate what you did and how you were able to find a way to get college paid for through that ability that I was given. You know, so it came full circle. I've got classmates that, you know, we butted heads growing up that now I can call any day and still call and talk to. You know, it's just all such a there's a much bigger picture in the grand scheme of things. And when you look back on it, would you change some things? I don't know. Maybe one or two, but I absolutely love where it's taken me.
It's just the whole thing, the whole journey is just a roller coaster and you just have to kind of grip onto it and ride it.
Yeah.
So then, what was it like for you, Tayt, when you just came to college, just in general? Because that would have been quite a big change from living back home in Volga.
Yeah. You know, just when you step on campus, it's go, 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 go. You're finding your own way. You're not leaning on your parents as much for things. I was pretty fortunate. I was pretty close, you know, an hour and a half, reasonable drive. And I have family that's in Sioux Falls. So if I needed something real quick, I could go to them, or if I got sick or something like that. But, you know, the moment you step onto campus, basketball's going. And basketball's always been going in my life, and I love that. But on top of it, you're meeting all these new people. You've got these new classes that are coming at you faster. The professors are on it, and it's go, 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 go time.
Huge transition period.
It is. And, you know, sometimes you just feel absolutely lost. You just want to go sit in a room with the lights off and not have anything going on and not think, you know. But then once you step back out, you're back into that reality of, oh, I've got to go get my classwork done. I need to go back to the gym. I need to go get that lift in. I need to go to workouts.
Need to go eat.
And then between each and everything there, you've got to find the time to eat. And we're blessed, as you know, with some great nutrition benefits here and things like that. And it got better from the time that, you know, that first year when we were on the squad together to my 5th year. Like it over time, the nutrition and the aid with that has gotten better and better.
What do you mean, like at the Commons, or are you talking
no,
about more
with
department specific?
With athletics.
Yeah. So talk to me about that, because it wasn't really much of a thing
right
when I was playing, and I think the biggest thing we were doing is we had the scales in our room and we had to track our body weight, which I don't know if that's particularly relevant or not, but
well, yeah. So let's see. At the time, we were also doing the hydration test, right?
That's right.
To see if we were
Sanford
hydrated.
was doing that.
So Sanford was doing that.
So before the game, we'd do a urine sample, and then was it afterwards too?
We did do after the game that first year.
Yeah.
So you'd do it before, you'd weigh yourself. It was a urine sample, and they determined if we were hydrated or not before the game.
Which I think they shared a few interesting data points. I think one of the worst performing games as a whole, as a team, we were very dehydrated. And it's like, well, I mean, it's the evidence is pretty clear for that. And
it was over Christmas. I think it was right after Christmas break.
Yeah.
Because I remember Christmas break that freshman year was a tough
came back,
practice.
We got slammed. That was literally the hardest practice
and that was
ever.
That was my first practice back.
Yeah.
Because we'd been playing one-on-one early in the year, and I decided to redshirt, and it was like the week that I decided to redshirt. And
because you redshirted that first.
Yeah,
year,
and Matt Cartwright and I were playing one-on-one.
Yeah.
And like I just made a defensive play that I've made, however many times over the years, and we bonked heads. And
I remember
it broke,
that now, yeah.
broke my nose, and our trainer, Jason Rennie, I remember him saying, hey, roll your head back. Close your eyes and just like take your chin to the sky. And I tipped my head back and I started walking to the right because like my balance was so far off because I'd gotten a concussion on it. So they sent me home, and I went and got my nose rebroke, and they put it back at the hospital and straightened it out. And, I was home for Thanksgiving then.
It's looking good now, by the way.
Well, thank you. I might have broke it again after that, but so you go do that, and I come back, and it was that practice was my first practice back.
Oh God.
And here I am in a mask, and I think did you have to wear the mask as well for your broken nose in basketball?
No, I never got to wear one.
Maybe it wasn't you.
No.
But someone else did.
Levi wore one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had one of I think he had his like special made for his, so it fit his face pretty well. But if you've had that, you can't see very well out of them when they got the pad right under your eyes.
I imagine full of sweat as well.
Yeah, and it's like fogging up, and you got all the condensation on there, and it's that first practice back, and it's running. You're go the whole 2 hours or maybe 2.5.
I thought I had some really tough sessions growing up, but I remember just running up and down, side to side, and we're just doing full court layup drills, and it was just running the whole time. It was brutal. And it, like looking back at it, that one was probably the toughest one that we had in the 5 years. Really?
Because we were, there was just a couple of us that went all 5 years together. And we were reminiscing on it, and we had a hard practice our 5th year. There was like a hard one, and some of the freshmen were dying a little bit. And we're standing there, and it's like, all right, let's go again. And we had that mentality, and we expected ourselves to be good, and we're holding ourselves to high standards. And we're sitting in the locker room just like, man, do you remember that day? And you don't even have to say, oh, the freshman year. It's just, you remember that day, that practice. And it's like, oh, absolutely.
I'm glad it wasn't just me thinking it was ridiculously hard.
No, it was incredibly hard. But, after we got done with it, it forced us to pick each other up. It forced us to do a lot of things that I think benefited us in the long run. It's every plan there that the coaches have has its purpose. As much as some of them suck, it has the purpose in the long run. And I think after that weekend, I don't even know how the rest of the season really ended up playing out. I think we just missed the postseason by a game or so. But, it's such a process to get there, but I do feel like we were better as a team after that had happened, as much as that practice was oof. But it's in that memory bank, it's definitely there.
No, I don't know if I would say, it's I'm glad that we did that because I would have been happy if we didn't. But I mean,
Absolutely.
it's been and done, and we got through it. We survived it and became a better team because of it.
Yeah.
And for you, Tayt, in particular, I remember because it was my sophomore year, so that was actually the last year I played basketball here.
Yep.
But that was your redshirt year as a freshman.
Yes.
So we spent a lot of time together because I was still, right down the end of the bench. And I was really fighting to get a spot, like more spots in training, but also just ultimately to play more in games.
Right.
So I remember us sort of, I don't know, sticking close to one another during that time because it was pretty difficult.
Yeah, and we got to we came in the gym together and did some workouts and things like that too, trying to push each other to get to where we wanted to be. And it was through that relationship that we were able to form that here we are today. It's the number of hours and the time that you spend getting to talk and cheering your teammates on. Even though we were at the end of the bench, we both knew that we were a big part of that team and how it played out.
I think even from very specifically during practice as well. I mean, you need just a whole talented group of guys to
absolutely
to practice and just push each other and to make up the numbers too, because it's very difficult when you don't have, an even number of 5 players to kind of rotate through and get the reps in for the drills that we do.
Right, and it takes each and every one of us to absolutely attack each other and try and beat each other up at practice, in the right way, but to go out for blood and to just battle on every single play, because you are, like you said, fighting for minutes. You're fighting for that playing time and that opportunity to play and be productive and for it to show up in front of fans. There's the games that everyone gets to go to and they get to experience it and see it and cheer everyone on, and that's part of what you play for and what you want to fuel. But there's so many more hours behind the scenes and doing all those little things, as that goes into it. But it was definitely during that time at the end of the bench, where you're learning and you're just soaking up everything, and you're seeing the family, your brothers that you're playing with, go out there and put to use what we've been working on every single day. And to me, it didn't end up mattering who was out there on the floor each and every day. You're going to come and battle for them and work and make them better because you do want to see the team be successful. Yeah.
And so, after your 5 years, you didn't quite get to. I think you were playing a little bit more minutes, but you never really got to crack a role player position or even a starter position. So, you kind of just touched on them, but how does that make you feel? Because I feel like we all have these dreams to be the guy that walks on the court being the starter, drop 40 points a game, but that's not always the case.
No, my redshirt year, I knew that was my role. As you said, I wasn't playing there with the redshirt year, so I'm down on the end of the bench. I embraced my role of, hey, you can travel, you get just, work your butt off and basically be a cheerleader at the road games and, at home as well. So you do that, you embrace it, you just work incredibly hard. And I felt like I improved over that year and did a lot of positive things. Then you come in your next year. Well, you got to keep in mind at the college level, they bring in new recruits and they bring in another core of players who are fighting for the same spot you want. And they brought in a really good group of guys. One of the players that you mentioned was playing at practice at Sioux Valley, Trevor Hansen. He was a grade below me. So, there's one of those guys as a testament to the program.
I remember running into him at that just in Sioux Valley. And again, the high school kids were very much pushing me over, but I was like, dang, Trevor, he's a weapon.
Yeah, and he's
really
like 6'8", just built, strong, very physical player, could step out and knock down the three-point shot. So you've got a guy like him, he's fighting for post minutes. I'm a guard. Okay, so then you go down the list. You got Michael Schaefer. You had AJ Plitzawhite. You had Dylan LeBrun coming in. I feel like I'm missing another one there too. But, you've got 4 or 5 guys coming in, and they're absolutely fighting for that spot as well. So,
and even though the trend is typically the freshmen probably wouldn't play as many minutes as some of the senior class, but I mean, there's talent coming from all over, and there's even transfers from junior colleges and other colleges too.
So then you're just competing with a whole new group, and you're trying to find your way in that one as well. And that year we took lumps. I mean, we had like a 5-game winning streak, and we had like a 5-game losing streak, and like, you sweep, you don't have to. We didn't practice on Monday. Well, we practice most Mondays.
I remember my freshman year, we actually had a really talented bunch because, I mean, that was off the back of the national championship the year before. Few of the big dogs left, but we were still left with a really strong core. So I think most of that year we just took Mondays off practice because we were just going 2 from 2 every weekend.
Yeah, and they knew what to expect, and you came into, and then here we are as a group of like freshmen and sophomores trying to find our way with 1 or 2 upperclassmen, that were really, so all of a sudden we're playing with some freshmen, and they're getting minutes and things like that, and then one of them ended up having some back problems for a little bit. So then I cracked kind of the rotation. I was just on the outside looking in, cracked the rotation a little bit. And you play really, really well, and then that guy comes back and you see your role change. So you keep your nose down, you keep grinding, you keep working, you do that, and the season plays out. You kind of see minutes here and there. That's fine. I'm a freshman still. Yeah, it's my second year, but by rule, since I redshirted, I'm a freshman. I still got 3 more years. You're positive, you go in, you meet with the coaches, you attack the off season, you feel like you do everything that you can, grinding and trying to get to where you want to be, and come back the next year and you're not quite, you're playing a little bit early in the year and you're starting to really feel yourself come on. And, one of the guys for us, I believe it was Matt at the time, Matt had a knee injury, Matt Cartwright did. And, maybe this is an opportunity for me. I've already been through 2 knee injuries. Makes me sick, no matter who it is. So I did not want to see Matt go down. I grew up playing with the guy. He's my roommate. Yeah. I absolutely love the guy.
But there is an opportunity there to step up.
Yeah.
And I think, and you really do need to actually like prove yourself on the court. I mean, practice is where it starts for sure, but you can't beat really showing it in a game situation.
Absolutely. And so, I finally, I kind of feel like this is maybe my chance and my break. So here I am, a sophomore. We're playing pretty well. We're, about a quarter of the way into the season, maybe a little closer to half. And I'm like, hey, I think this is my chance. And I come in and I attack those 2 weeks of practice because I don't think we had a game in there. Or we played maybe just a real bad opponent where it was like, you're not judging much there. It wasn't conference. And finally, you're starting to kind of see, because, when you come to practice, you can kind of sense the situation that you're in or the role that they're maybe trying to see if you can fill. And, you kind of feel that sense of like, hey, I think I got my chance coming now. And, right here over my shoulder on the baseline, made a play on the ball. Routine play again, just like you make over and over. We're on the defensive side of things, and an unfortunate bang play, battle for the basketball, and I just feel a pop in my knee, and it's like, for one, I'm a little more sensitive to it because I've had a couple injuries already prior to it, and go in and find out that I, partial tear of my MCL in my knee. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do? And they're like, well, you rehab for this amount of time. Well, that takes me out until the postseason. So there really isn't, your season's pretty much done.
Yeah. Gone. Where you had that opportunity to really step up and
and you
yourself.
Feel, and you really do, you feel like you had that spot. Like you left it out there, and whether the coaches would have decided to go with me, that would have been their choice, But I felt like I put forth my best and performed and did what I needed to do to give myself a chance. And I want to say it was like a Thursday. And as you know, we play Friday, Saturdays. So that's the day before a game.
The Thursday practices were always, they was pretty short, normally just about an hour or so.
Yeah.
And we would like a lot less running because you're trying to stay
fresh
for the game.
But we scrimmaged.
Yeah.
And when you scrimmage, you go hard. It doesn't matter what day it is.
Yeah, 100%.
If it's game day and coach says, hey, we're scrimmaging, you're going out to win. And it was just a bang play, and it happened, and it's like, oh, just a gut punch. But, that's the hand that you're dealt. So you battle and you do that. And so there's the sophomore season.
So did you have another opportunity after that?
Never really got my opportunity, but as a junior, kind of towards the end of the year, started to just embrace my role. So, my junior year, that was my 4th year. And then the following year, as my senior year, was my 5th year. Now, over the course there, you had the COVID year in there, and it was goofy, and it was just, you had to be ready no matter what. So you just played here and there sometimes, if you were in that role, because somebody might be out with COVID or not able to play that day. It was a very odd time. So that would
really, there's lots of quick turnover then. There's opportunities could spark from anywhere.
Yeah, so you're just continuing to put your head down. And then, my senior year, I kind of had the option of you could maybe graduate and be done with it if you pushed yourself that last semester, or maybe you look at the transfer portal or something and just do kind of like a grad, it wouldn't be a grad transfer because I hadn't graduated, but just that 5th year somewhere else. And I'm just I'm not doing that. I really enjoyed the group of guys that we had. And when you got something pretty special. We were a couple plays away from probably competing for the national championship, or going to that Elite 8 and having a chance at it. And, we come up just short that year. But over the course of that year, I came to just accept that, maybe I was kind of the guy on the team that just needed to keep some guys' heads up, keep them afloat, keep encouraging them, keep, being there and explaining it to them, even though maybe I wasn't doing what I felt maybe I could have been doing had I got the opportunity to play. But each day in practice, I felt like I just got to be a little bit of an extension of the coaches in helping coach some of the guys to their spots. And over the course of time, when you play with those guys for 4 or 5 years, you start to figure out what buttons to push when they're not maybe giving it 100%. So, maybe I'm the one that's over there trying to get under somebody's skin. Or maybe I only played in 1 or 2 plays at practice during some of the scrimmages, but I came in there and I just went in there and shoved the guy a couple times in the right direction and kind of get him frustrated to get him playing hard, because that's when he plays a little better. And you start to see those effects and that impact that I could have by not playing. I felt like I was still a fairly big part of that group,
Because you can observe things and go on that deeper level. And that's some really high-level basketball IQ right there, to be able to understand what motivates people, what instructions are they able to obtain more easily. And so I think someone like yourself who has spent more time maybe watching during practice, during the drills and stuff before being able to jump in, you really get to see how everyone ticks and what makes people work.
Right. And I just bought in and embraced that role and enjoyed it. And that last year I played hardly any, and it was my most enjoyable year.
Was it really?
So it just, and it really was the group of guys that we got to be around, and the coaching staff with Casey Schlatter and Michaela McInnes, Coach Mack, and Coach B, and Cody Schilling, with that coaching staff. And we just really enjoyed it. And the guys, it really was us upperclassmen really just wanted to play for each other. There's a couple freshmen in there that they're finding their way, and there was times where they struggled, but by the end of the year, they understood, hey, this team really cares about each other. And when you care about each other, that can go a long way. And when you're playing not for me, but for us, you just see that. And that's what I felt like that last year. We were all extremely crushed when we got knocked out by Northwest Missouri State. Extremely crushed. I still remember some of those guys just sitting in there and, crying together because it's over.
Only a few games left, and that would have been the championship.
Yeah. And, they go on and they walk through, and they beat Black Hills State University, I think, in the championship game, who we beat second game of the year by a bit. We knew that we should have been a team that was there. We knew that. We knew that the game against Northwest Missouri was going to be the toughest one you're going to have to play with, the player of the year, Justin Pitts there. Like, you knew that was going to be a battle. And when you leave it all out there on the line and you've got a guy that like Pitts that just, he knocked it down from everywhere. I don't know if he missed a shot in that game. And like the guy guarding him, Dylan LeBrun, he's like, dude, I fouled him on 2 of those. And we're like, we know. And after the game, he's devastated. That guy just cooked me. Well, that's a player that, it's hard for anyone to guard. And Dylan, we all picked you. And
yeah, we backed you to do the best job, and you did. You did everything you possibly could, but this guy's just better on the night.
Yeah, and he knocked
ready.
shots down, and you tip your hat sometimes, and it is what it is. And there's other plays over the course of the game that maybe if you come up with, you win that game. But everyone left it out there on the line, and like in that locker room, you saw just how much everybody cared for each other, and how much we were a team, and how bad it hurt to come up short of the goals and what we wanted for ourselves.
I remember watching that game back home in Australia. I was just live streaming it.
Yeah.
And it was just at the end of the game when you guys didn't come out on top. I was gutted for you because I knew that you'd been working so hard for it and you were so close.
Yeah, and you'd been a part of it, and you knew some of us that were on that team and just how hard we'd put in the work for all those years, and you understood, and you have a little deeper connection to it. So I'm sure you feel a little different than most of those people, but a lot of the people that I talked to, they were just like, man, I really wanted that game to keep going because it was back and forth. It's what March Madness here in America is. It's all of that battling every single play.
And anything can happen.
And it coming down to one shot, 1 or 2 shots at the end. You make a play or you don't, and you leave it on the line and you give it everything that you have. And that was one of those games. And to be a part of that, and I know it's the Division II level, and you dream of the Division I level, but Division II basketball is really strong.
Especially at a college like this and in a region where the talent is everywhere.
Absolutely. It's when your region does that and is that dominant, and you've seen teams like Augustana here the year they went and played Iowa. And Iowa's a powerhouse. They went and beat Iowa at Iowa.
Yeah.
That national championship team. So that you've got the talent and the ability to do that at this level, and you can play a really high level of basketball. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
I think that's a very interesting transformation that you've had on your journey here playing basketball at Augustana. Maybe coming to terms particularly that senior year where you thought, well, I've given it everything I've got thus far. I've done everything I possibly could have, and I still am not cracking the roles that I want. So actually having the self-reflection to say, hey, like, this is the role that I'm good at. This is what I'm going to step into, where I can look after the guys, sort of help, support, and coach in your own sort of player coaching style.
Right. And
I think is really powerful to actually come to terms with that, because it's something that I never did while I was playing.
Yeah, and I do. It takes a special, it takes a special mindset to get yourself there, and it definitely has its ups and downs. It's not all pretty. You have those days that you're just crushed, and you want to be out there.
Why do we play this? We want to be the go-to guys, the heroes, the talk of the team.
And just to play the game.
Yeah.
Like for me, I just love the game, like through and through. But I remember, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, the very first summer of doing camps, the little kid camps. And we had to introduce ourselves. I'm Tayton Vincent. I'm a freshman. I'm from Volga, South Dakota. And you're listing all these things, and you say your major. I'm a pre-med major, and then I later changed to education, mathematics, and biology, secondary education, so high school, middle school. And Coach Billiter goes, don't let him fool you. He's going to be a coach someday. And, once I changed my major from biology to secondary education, kind of told myself, I don't want to coach. I don't want to coach. I don't want to coach. And, but that senior year, that realization of, hey, I'm pretty good at being able to kind of get the best out of some of my teammates. Did I have to do any X's and O's? Absolutely not. And it was awesome. I got to coach my teammates and poke their buttons in a way that a teammate can, from a little bit of a coach's perspective, taking, kind of just embracing that role. But then it really did lead me to enjoy it. And, I really have now found the love for coaching. And that's what I'm doing now, is coaching on the girls basketball side of things. But
You're over the other side of the state.
Yeah.
In Custer.
Yep. So now I'm about 400 miles away at Custer. Custer is very similar to Sioux Valley, or Volga, the population size. Volga is about 2,200 right now, and Custer is about 1,900 people.
But right up the road from Mount Rushmore.
Right. It's right in there. It's a beautiful place.
The Black
It's
Hills
in the
is
Black
gorgeous.
Hills.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And this last year I was the assistant girls coach. This year I get to be the head
You're
coach.
the head coach. Nice.
Yes. So we found our first win at the Lakota Nation Invitational, the LNI. It's a big celebration for the schools on the reservations here in South Dakota. They bring a lot of the teams in. They stay for 4 straight days. It's a celebration of basketball. It's not just basketball. They have wrestling there as well. Boys and girls basketball. I believe they have archery shoot now. They do some artwork, and they do oral interp. They include so many things, and it's just this big celebration, and it brings a lot of people together. And it is an extremely fun event. And being a basketball person, of course, and being a coach, I'm more involved with the basketball side of things. But it's just really, really good to see for the younger athletes and the younger kids, that passion and the support that they all have, for 4 straight days of basketball games from 8 a.m. until 10 or 11 p.m. on that last day. I think we got out of there at like 11:30 the last 2 years. The game got done and it's 11:30. And there's not a person that really leaves early. Everyone just stays and goes through that. So the opportunity that I got because I had that mindset and embraced that role and found that I really enjoyed it, I think it just goes to a testament of what the coaching staff and the people here at Augustana did for me, as well as my background with my parents both being coaches and what my dad did. So that whole process and that whole journey, but Augustana taking the lumps that I did and not getting the playing time that I maybe wanted and not enjoying it at times and really wanting to transfer, wanting to do this and just not enjoying it, to then my senior year enjoying basketball maybe more than I ever did in my life or thought that I could at college, just really goes to show the ups and downs, and the adversity you're going to face.
Of not just basketball, but for life as well.
Yeah. And, talking about life, my freshman year I come in and it's awesome. And, you're doing all those things. And then my, it would have been, what year was right before COVID. All the time there with COVID's running together. But the year before COVID, I lost my grandpa. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was super, super aggressive. I think we found out about it in August and he passed in October. So I spent some of that year just frustrated, really frustrated and really questioning a lot. And then you go through there and you come out on the other side and it's on the up and you're starting to feel better. And then COVID hits and you experience COVID as an athlete and as a college student, and you get sent home and you're taking finals just online, and the whole, it's just different. But at the
Games getting cancelled and
Right.
training sessions delayed and
you're
players
doing,
dropping.
Yeah, and you're doing COVID tests left and right, it feels like. But practice and basketball at Augustana becomes your safe place during COVID. You get to practice, you don't have to wear the masks while you're battling and playing, and then once you step back out of the gym, you put that mask back on and you kind of come back to the reality. But the gym here for basketball, to me, was my safe place. Even during even before COVID when my grandpa had passed away. I wanted to be at practice. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be around the guys. So it really became that place that I attached to and really felt at home, away from home, away from family. But the basketball players, as I've said multiple times, they become your family. They become like brothers. And you lean on those people and, they help you through a lot of those things. And so then you come out of COVID and, basketball didn't change during it for us. However, yeah, a couple more games got canceled, but basketball was still basketball. And we had to separate on the bench. But you know what? When it gets heated and you're in the thick of the game, you're all right there standing there, just for each other, picking each other up off the floor. Like, it's blood, sweat, and tears, whatever it goes in, whatever you got to do, right? And you're just sticking together through that. And I really feel like during COVID, I never really got that like COVID down, and where some people really struggled through that, and it's tough to see. But I really felt like basketball helped me overcome and maybe, and not avoid, but like it was just one of those things that didn't really change. Basketball is still basketball.
Consistent
across,
your whole lifetime, really.
Right. So it was that thing that you could just lean on and really trust that it was going to be there, and really, made it smooth through COVID for me. I never felt really out of place on any of that or anything. So it's just given me a lot through that. And then, of course, you come out of COVID and you go through what we talked about just a little bit ago and, not playing, but embracing that role. So now you've come just full circle through all those ups and downs during that. But
what has remained? Basketball.
Basketball is still there. And now I get to share that with, younger generations and younger people. And something that gave me so many opportunities in my life, getting to share that. I don't know. I can't ask for anything else. I'm extremely happy to do what I'm doing.
I'm super happy for you. It sounds like you're doing a great job over there. And for you to really just find your calling as a coach and to just be fully, delve into that and just be in that environment where you're in another small town where you can draw on years of experience growing up in a small town and just being part of the community that you love. It's awesome to see.
And the relationships that come, at college and through basketball and sports. It's you can't form some of those relationships without it. It's given me a lot of opportunities. It's helped me meet a lot of wonderful people. And here we are today as a testament to that, getting to sit here and share with you. And, that Christmas, both of my grandmas still bring it up. And they ask every year, well, how's Zach doing? And that's where I'm like,
so
I got to reach out and, got to get in touch with them. And when you reached out and asked, I was like, oh, absolutely, I'm making time for this, because it's just a great time to catch up and talk and reflect a little bit with you.
That means a lot for you taking the time to sit down and have a chat. It's been awesome catching up with you, Tayt.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd gladly do it any day.
Well, we've talked a lot about basketball, Tayt.
Yeah.
But college is more than just basketball. So are there any other things that you'd like to share about your time here at Augustana that didn't relate to basketball?
Well, I know one class that I kind of want to hit on now that I'm thinking about it. Well, of course, like, classroom's a big part of it, right? You're going to class every single day. You got 2 or 3 each and every day. I was in the biology and the math departments. So with biology, you got labs some of those days, and those get long, but you get pretty close to some of those people in class as well. And you build great relationships outside of sports and outside of basketball. I wish I would have taken some more time, though, to go and enjoy some of the other extracurricular activities or some of the clubs that they're in, and tried to make time for that as well. But you meet a lot of people, and there's people that I still run into from all of my classes, or I see, post something online, and I shoot them a message telling them congrats, and then we talk for an hour or two, and I might not hear from them again for a couple of years, but you have those relationships that you've built in the classroom as well. And the professors, like there's multiple professors that for me, I felt really, really safe with and safe around and feel like they would do anything for you. They'd bend over backwards and do things for you. And there's some professors that I felt like I didn't get along with incredibly well, or I didn't get to foster not that I didn't get along with them. I didn't foster a great relationship with them. And I take that upon myself. Me kind of being shy and more in my little bubble, in my small town feel, did not branch out and expand my own horizons like I could have. So those are mostly my choices that I made. And do I regret them? No. But do I wish I would have done a couple more things? Absolutely. Like, I'm still proud of what I did and happy with where I'm at. But I do think I missed on some opportunities and chances. But since being at Augustana, I've been able to reflect on that. And I feel as though I've started to finally figure out, hey, you can go do some of these things. You can reach out. You can talk to people. You can do this. Like, it's that mindset and that mentality. But it took me college to learn that. And it took me being in the classroom environment and in all of those littler sections of getting to know a couple more people where I started to realize it. But again, you know, they say you get a little wiser as the years go by and you start to learn. And I really learned by my junior and senior year that I'm missing out on opportunities with people that are present there while I'm also present. And I think just seeing it now in my teaching, a phone, a laptop, technology can really get in the way of it. It does some really wonderful things, don't get me wrong, but
they can be huge distractions.
Yes.
And I think this sort of goes off on a little bit of a tangent, but really takes away the tension focus to where you are at the current time.
Yes. And I think that's what held me back in college. I don't feel like I was present in all of my classes. I felt like I was there because I needed to go to class. And if you didn't go to class, you weren't going to get good grades. Or if you didn't go to class,
you get kicked off the basketball team.
You're not going to be on the team, or you're going to be running extra. And it's like, I got to be there. I wish I would have started to enjoy the people, because once I switched majors and I started to enjoy the people I was around, I started to enjoy my major, and I started to enjoy going to class, and I started to enjoy the professors, and I started to enjoy more. And it took me time, and I wish I would have learned that earlier. But would I change where I'm at today? Absolutely not. That's just one of those things of being present. So now you make a conscious effort to be present in everything that you're doing. You know, it's
sure.
And it goes all the way across. It's leading into the holiday season right now while we're talking here. You know, I'm getting to see family. I've got 4 days to be back on this half of South Dakota and be around my family. So I only have a certain amount of time with everybody. And you want to maximize that amount of time. So I'm going to do my best to limit my distractions, to put my phone down and do some of those little things and just really embrace being with those people. You know, it's something that I really learned, though, through my classes. And it's not something, you know, that you can go test somebody on. It's just something that me personally, and I'm not perfect at it by any means. I can improve each and every day, but you have to make a conscious decision and effort to do that. So in the classroom and outside of that, though, there is one class, it was Diversity and Inclusion in the Classroom, I think was the name of the class, with Mark Blackburn here at Augustana. And like, we talked every day about all of what's going on in the world and the tensions and the racial tension. And I just learned a ton through my experience with Mark. And I'm a firm believer that everyone here at Augustana should be taking that class when I was there. And I probably told him that every day. But that class there with Mark, he made me feel welcomed. He really kind of went out of his way, I felt like, for me, even though he's busy. He was the dean of students.
He was the dean of students,
I believe, yeah. So, he's busy. And some classes got canceled because he had meetings that had come up and things like that. And like, it was the one class that I could not wait to go to. Could not wait to get there, to talk to him and just to listen and hear his stories and hear his perspectives and to ask questions. And he made me feel really comfortable asking questions that are incredibly hard to discuss with people. And just in the times that we're in, with the tensions across the world and within the United States and within communities, even the tensions that you have, just learning to be open and accepting of everybody and understanding that everyone has a unique story and a unique situation, but each and every individual has it in them to be positive and to be kind and to do amazing things in this world. And his class to me still is just the one, it gives me chills like sitting here thinking about it, because I enjoyed that class so much and learned so much. And it's helped me ask harder questions to some people that maybe before I'd feel really uncomfortable asking about their life and their background and how they were raised.
It can be hard sometimes to really ask those harder questions.
And it's you kind of got to build a relationship sometimes first, but I have found myself asking questions and thinking about it and reflecting on, was I right in this situation or was I wrong in this situation? And can I be a better person learning from this situation, or how can this impact me and how can I carry it over? Oh,
dude, I can't believe how much you have grown since I last saw you just almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really spectacular to see. And I've got a few more questions for you, two to sort of cap them off. But one of them is, if you could give your experience at Augie a letter grade, A, B, C, D, E, F, what would you give it?
The first 2 years, probably like a D.
It's pretty tough.
It's tough, but and I just and being a teacher, I didn't embrace that opportunity. I didn't do what I needed to do. But then those last couple years, I would give an A. Absolutely through and through, really loved it and really found a way to love it. And reflecting on it, the more I reflect on it, and I'm glad that I had that time of being down. It was hard. It was incredibly hard.
It's what builds you, though.
But it has built me to be who I am. And I feel like I enjoy the little things. I enjoy my drive from home to work every morning. I go 5 to 10 miles per hour under the speed limit most days, unless I'm really late to work. But I get up and want to be there a little earlier, and I just enjoy and I slow down and try and soak it up and, take things a little slower. But it wouldn't have come without my experience at Augustana.
So you reckon if we average it out, that's like a B, we'll call it?
I would say my overall experience would be a B. Yeah. I had my tough times. I had my really, really great times.
But you've grown by the end of it, and you've really
absolutely
found yourself as well, which is amazing 100%. To see. So along those lines, Tayt, then I'd like to ask you this question. If you could give some advice to yourself before you started your college journey, sort of looking at how you've grown and how you've developed and how you've become so much more self-aware, what sort of advice would you give yourself?
I think if I was to really, really simplify it, I'd dumb it down to just one little phrase, 2 words.
Yeah, what's that?
And that'd be present. And what do I mean by be present? Just be there and be engaged when you're at some sort of an event, when you're in class, when you're at practice. Just give 100% to what you're doing, because you did make those choices to be there. You made that choice to get up and to do that. to be at class at 8 a.m. in the morning on a day that you don't want to. You made that choice to be at practice and be a part of the team. So be present in it and give it everything that you have, and find a way. And, if you're only feeling 85% that day, you're a little off. You give 100% of that, of what you have. You give what you have that day. And just put the phone down. Be willing to step out of your shell a little bit, or find yourself a friend that's really good at getting out of their shell, and go with them. Go do things with them, and go make it an experience that you want to make it. We can really shape this into whatever we want to shape our life into. We're making those decisions each and every day. And if you're not enjoying something, don't be afraid to go change it up as well.
I think that's really good advice. I think your younger self would have really appreciated that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't know if that would have maybe convinced me to change schools, or, and like I said, my experience at Augustana has been great for me. But sometimes you wonder and you ask, but at the same time, I made those decisions, and I was there in those moments. So, be present while you're there. You made that choice. You made that conscious decision to be at Augustana, to be a part of the biology department to begin with. And I changed that. And I found I enjoyed it, but I found more joy after I had changed it. So just by being there and being present in the moment can go such a long way. And
So
I
amazing.
really, and like I said, I find myself taking it for granted. I'm listening to myself talk now, and I'm thinking of times like, oh, well, why didn't I put my phone down there? Should have been present in that moment.
Just be more present.
Yeah.
I think that's spectacular advice. And with that, Tayt, thank you so much for coming back to college.
Yes, thank you for having me back here. It's been a great joy, and I'm just glad that we've been able to foster the relationship that we have, and I'm excited to see where you go with your life, and where this podcast and everything that you've been doing will take you, because it's really been fun for me to follow along and to see what you're doing, and to share with my family what you're doing, because
That's awesome.
that one Christmas meant a lot to all of my family.
And
they
did to me
enjoyed it.
too. Yeah, thank you so much, Tayton. Good luck with all the coaching and all
Thank
the
you.
teaching. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Let's
I
go shoot.
appreciate it. Yeah.